And welcome today, everybody, to our roundtable. I'm Mike Dabity. I'm the co-CEO and co-founder of Heart+Mind Strategies. And I'm just grateful that you've joined us today for this roundtable. These roundtables are about sharing and coming together and learning from one another. So that's our agenda. And we have got a great group that's with us for today. Kate Wick is with us. Kate is the CMO of the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, the LVCVA. And Kate is in charge of the communications for the Las Vegas brand, both on the leisure side and also on the business side. And today she's going to be chatting about a campaign for Las Vegas on the business side that she'll be sharing. So Kate, thank you. Thank you for being here with us. Jim Katsounis is the Managing Director of Marketing and Communications for the CFP Board, the Certified Financial Planner Board of Standards. And Jim is here to share the CFP Board's campaign on It's Gotta Be a CFP, which is communicating the importance of having a financial plan. So such an important topic, particularly nowadays in our economy and with so many that are preparing and planning for retirement. And Donna Grove is with us. She's the Executive Director, Brand and Consumer Marketing for the Paper and Packaging Board. And Donna, thank you. I'm a big proponent of writing things down and writing on paper. So thanks for that. And also for the things in my Amazon package arriving safely, being kept safe. So thank you for what you do and for being here with us. So thank you all. Before we get into the campaigns, the thought occurred to me of we're speaking about communications, and the thought occurred to me was, well, when we say communication strategy, what exactly do we mean? Can we give a definition of communication strategy? And what I wanted to share is how we look at communication strategy. How do we define it? For at Heart+Mind, a communication strategy is a predetermined set of persuasive actions that differentiates a brand in a context that is positive and benefit based, that connects to the target audiences or to your coalitions, and is goal oriented, meaning that it is goal oriented to achieve a desired outcome, so an ROI or a KPI. And campaigns that connect work off of that definition, but they do more than that. They apply certain principles as well. And some of the principles you see there on the left, and I'll just touch on a couple of them to illustrate why these principles are important for campaigns that connect so well. And of course, the first is about human values. These campaigns are not just connecting emotionally, but they're connecting at a values level, a higher order values level. What I mean by that is values like freedom, or a sense of accomplishment, or a sense of security. But they're also framing things in a choice in the context of the target audience, the consumer, in choice base, and putting that in terms of a decision. And of course, the other that's important is the ROI. And ROI from the start. And what I mean by that is that keeping that ROI, that KPI front and center, so all the way through to the start of what we're doing, from insights to strategy to activation, that's being pulled through all the way in the planning process. When these principles are applied, you've got great communication, effective communication that's happening. And as we at Heart+Mind summarize that in an axiom that we use called persuade by reason and motivate with emotion. And the last thing that I'd share before we switch over to Kate is these campaigns are also employing an omnichannel strategy and doing it right, done right. And what I mean by that too is they are hitting the right audience with the right message, with the right great creative. They are reaching their target audiences, driving interest, and also action, which what we call as moments. A brand that does this so well, and a person that does this so well, is Kate Wick, who is the Chief Marketing Officer at LVCVA. She is leading front and center all of these things way out front. So Kate, thank you for being here with us for this campaign. Can you, and Darren is joining us from Heart+Mind, who you also work with. Can you speak to the need for this campaign and tell us a bit about why this was needed?
Sure. First of all, thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk a little bit about this with you and also with Darren. I think coming out of the pandemic, well, first of all, just to back up, many people think about what we do from a leisure point of view and driving leisure visitation for Las Vegas. But the reality with Las Vegas is we operate in such high volume. We have over 150,000 hotel rooms in our destination. That is far more than any other US destination. And so you can't fill all that just with a leisure traveler. We look at multiple different segments to make sure that we're driving the volume that we need to drive to operate Vegas successfully. And so for us, meetings and conventions is a really big part of what we do. It's about 30% of our overall visitation, our overall occupancy is based on people coming here for business purposes. And
Mm-hmm.
so while many people know us as, what happens here stays here, or, leisure campaigns like that, business is absolutely a really important segment and one of our most profitable segments that our property partners are focused on.
Mm-hmm.
So for us, making sure that we're delivering really strong MNC communications is critical to what we do.
So I think this kind of irrefutable insight before we show the campaign, I think touches on that of what was the need for it. And to me, there's a little counterintuitiveness that was going into the into the campaign. It's not invited to Vegas and making an enemy of mediocrity. Can you kind of speak to the that this clear insight that then led to this awesome creative in the campaign?
Sure. Yeah, purposely provocative. I would definitely say that. To add context, and I started to get into this, but post-pandemic, there's a lot of competition for that business segment and for large groups. In 2022, we were about over 20% down in terms of business volume versus pre-pandemic. And we knew that every destination was being incredibly competitive about going out and rebooking major groups and events for their destination. And so what we needed to do was really understand what was going to motivate not just meeting planners, but C-suite decision makers to be open to having their business, their meetings, to have Vegas as their selection for that. And so it's it's not a really exciting competitive landscape when you look at MNC communications, and they all sort of play in the same field, and it's very rationally driven in terms of attributes. It's about specs, how much meeting space does a destination have, the
Yeah,
ease of getting in and out of the destination.
yeah.
And we know all that. We also know that we beat all of our competitors from a head-to-head point of view when you're looking at those rational benefits. But we needed to figure out what was going to help us sort of,
Mm-hmm.
level up.
Level
Exactly.
up. Yeah.
Um, and I'm sure a lot of the people on the phone call here probably work with you guys, Mike, from a Heart+Mind research point of view. But more than ever, we needed insights to drive how we were thinking about how to approach our advertising and our communications. And so it was actually through some really insightful research from Darren and the team, understanding that when we actually went out and talked to meeting planners and C-suite decision makers, they were the ones that said, the differentiator for Las Vegas is the energy and the excitement that you guys bring. You bring, when we have our groups, when we have our meetings there, attendees are, they're thinking differently. They're thinking outside of the box. They're getting bigger ideas. They're getting more engagement from their meetings in our destination, because that's what the destination sort of, that's our table stakes. We bring this level of excitement to the table
Mm-hmm.
where their attendees want to be here. And so historically, we have never had the leisure side of what sells Las Vegas, the energy, the excitement, the entertainment. We are the entertainment capital of the world. We've never used that to help drive business. So while we wear the hat of the entertainment capital of the world, we are also the meetings capital of the world. We wear that hat and that title proudly as well. What the insights from this campaign led us to was actually we can lean into both of those. We don't need to ignore who we are from a leisure side of things, because it's that brand benefit of the excitement of Las Vegas, the energy that just inherently comes with the second your attendees step foot on the ground here. There's just this excitement. And so for our meeting planners and our C-suite decision makers, what we heard was that their attendees are showing up to Las Vegas, to their meetings, in a way that they don't show up to other destinations. And that was the insight that fueled this entire campaign.
So true, so true. Can I show the two spots? Yeah, let's take a look at them.
Yeah.
Average is not invited. Not if you're holding your company off-site in Las Vegas. We aren't on friendly terms with the bare minimum, and unenthusiastic is uninvited. Las Vegas's creative energy and world-class hospitality want to bring your meeting off-site to crazy new heights. That's why fear-based leadership is afraid of Vegas, and boring won't be there.
And I know we have one other one, so I'll play that one too, and then we can talk on the on the other side.
If you want to take your company off-site, then go off-site, way off-site. So off-site, predictable will never find you. And the status quo can go away. Because average isn't invited to Las Vegas. But vision and innovation, they were the first to RSVP. The art of business requires imagination, and here, yours is invited to run wild.
That's awesome, Kate. I love the music bed too. So, Darren, you're on with Kate. Can you guys speak to back to ROI KPI? You know, can y'all, the two of you, speak to the ROI on this?
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to talk quickly about the research. We had the benefit of doing research pre-campaign and post-campaign. And what we were looking for there is some of the perceptual changes that we were trying to affect through the campaign. And a lot of those bared out with significant double-digit types of increases. In particular, you can see here that we had increased perceptions that more business gets done in Las Vegas, that Las Vegas stimulates new ideas and innovation, obviously directly communicated through those spots, that your meeting can be the main focus, and that Las Vegas is a destination I'm curious about. Because one thing we heard in the research was that a lot of meeting planners, executives, they felt like they knew what Vegas is and what it represents as a business destination. But we were trying to create a little bit more curiosity about how things are kind of kicked up a notch and different compared to other destinations. And so it was good to see that these perceptual shifts were happening in that pre-post analysis. Another really big concern is that a lot of the earlier research showed that there was more concern in Las Vegas that attendees would be distracted. But what we kind of pivoted and showed that energy and excitement can be leveraged and harnessed for business innovation and new ideas and productivity. That really helped reduce the concern on distraction. So we saw a nice change on that as well. And obviously, really important on the KPI here is a pretty substantial increase in RFP submissions year over year. So again, you're kind of generating that interest and trying to improve those business bookings. And so we directly cited these as part of our Ogilvy Award submission, which we're a finalist for in October. So we're looking forward to seeing how
I want to double down on that for a second. Go back, because Darren, you're totally underselling it. So first of all, the research that the guys the research that the guys at Heart+Mind did for us, not only the pre and the post, but really diving into the two different audiences, very different audiences that we're talking to with this campaign. So C-suite decision makers, as well as meeting planners. They have different goals, different objectives, and different needs from this campaign. And so not only did we hit all of the increased perceptions on all of those points, but it was the velocity that we did it. So more business gets done in Vegas. Executives, they had a 27-point lift from pre-campaign versus post-campaign on that. Meeting planners had a 15-point lift. So it wasn't just that we increased it, it was double-digit increases. The idea of reducing concerns of distraction, this is like phenomenal to me. That also is double digits. For executives, we were down 31 points in terms of concern that Las Vegas is a distraction. And for meeting planners, we were down 43 points for concerns that Las Vegas is a distraction. And what's so unique about that is we didn't lean into just the rational reasons to choose Vegas. We leaned into the brand benefit, the emotional benefit, the energy, the excitement. And that ultimately, what we were so scared of historically to like have those two worlds collide, that actually proved to be the accelerator that this segment needed. Even in the creative, you saw night shots of the Strip. Historically, we have never shown night shots of the Las Vegas Strip because it's like, no, that's a distraction. That gives, thought to all the other things that go on in the destination, like entertainment shows. And so we had always separated those two, but by leaning into what makes Vegas so uniquely Las Vegas, we had just significant growth.
Great job, Kate. Great job, Darren. Kate, we showed 230s. Can you also just quickly speak to other areas of activation where you executed? I mean, were you doing digital?
Everything. You cannot just go to market with a single piece of creative anymore. We know the media landscape is more fragmented than ever. It's a very integrated campaign, everything from, video and digital. We did a lot of podcasts where, we'd have our CEO talking to a business audience about the business landscape in Las Vegas. So podcasts really important, digital media really important. Print, making sure that we're hitting all of those, meetings today and MPIs, conference direct, all the main endemic media for planners, as well as showing up where our planners go. So we actually launched the campaign at IMAX, which is the largest meetings trade show that is hosted actually in Las Vegas. So we showed up here, did a huge press conference to announce the campaign, to trade, to media, as well as to the business audience, to make sure that we're breaking through. Because I think from a marketer's point of view, it's not just having the right message and the right insights to guide the creative. It's finding media opportunities that lets that message break through all that noise that's out there. So, kudos to R&R, who not only developed the creative, but also did the media planning behind it, where they worked with endemic partners for the first time ever, these partners were creating unique, bespoke creative units for Las Vegas that they had never done before, like huge, site takeovers, things like that. So definitely integrated campaign for sure.
Thank you. And I'll say that this campaign is a finalist for an ARF David Ogilvy Award. And so we'll find out in October where it places. And for those who don't know the ARF and the Ogilvy Awards, I like to say that the reason why those awards, they're not about patting yourself on the back, but it is the judges are outside the industry, but you have to show that insights led to creative, that led to ROI. There has to be a red thread across all of those in order to be able to win that award. So congratulations on that, and thank you for that. Thanks, Kate, for that. That was great. The other campaign that we like to show and spotlight, which I think this organization does a phenomenal job with, not just its brand, but its social mission as well, on financial planning. And so I'd like to welcome Jim Katsounis, who's with the CFP board. Welcome, Jim.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks for having me.
You bet. So this is Jim and I have been working together for years. We started working with the CFP board. I think it was 2017, and the CFP board came to us with wanting to take a outside in approach to their brand strategy. And what you see here is the brand positioning originally on the left, and then revised on the right, and then the expression as well. And you know, Jim, I know you talk about this. You're so eloquent about this, and the role of the brand being a partner, and providing confidence and security being the emotion and the values. I'm wondering, before I show the campaign, if you could just speak to the brand and speak to the importance of this campaign.
Of the campaign. Well, I think it's important to also note, Mike, and you and your firm helped us with our brand promise, which is confidence today for a more secure tomorrow. And, the campaign, the history of the campaign, goes back a little over 2 decades. The idea of this campaign actually came about because our CFP professionals wanted to raise awareness of the mark. And at that time, there was maybe about 50,000 CFP professionals in the country. Today, that number has grown to over 106,000 CFP professionals. So 1/3 of retail financial advisors in the United States are CFP professionals, and they meet the high standards and ethical requirements that being a CFP professional requires. When we decided to launch the campaign back in 2011 was when the first campaign launched. We were looking for something that was going to be memorable. Was really going to differentiate us from the alphabet soup of designations out there. There's a lot of different financial services designations out there. And we wanted consumers to understand that if you're going to work with a CFP professional, you could count on them for the confidence and the security that they would provide at an ethical level. What ended up, we're in our 4th campaign now with an agency called Bunton out of Nashville. You've been with us through the past several agencies. But when we launched the current campaign in 2023, the campaign was really about how do we distinguish and how do we emphasize that trust, that confidence that someone would have. How do we really emphasize the acronym? When we did research, and we'll show the numbers in a bit, some of the KPIs, do people associate CFP with that person that they could count on for their financial advice? So what we really did was, with this new campaign, we used humor. We'll get into that in a little bit. To make it as memorable as possible, we created a tagline that has a nice rhythm to it. And we've seen, from the results that we'll show in a bit, that we've been really able to move that needle. That it's got to be a CFP when you're looking for financial advice.
And the agency and you all have threaded that needle so well between the seriousness of financial planning, but yet using humor in such a way that there's no blowback, if you will. Can I show the spots
Yeah,
too?
please,
I think,
please.
yeah. We'll talk on the other side.
Hey there, Brenda.
It's Carol.
Exactly. So which leg are we operating on?
You mean arm?
It's all connected.
Asking the right question can greatly impact your future,
Are you sure you're an orthopedist?
Actually, I'm a Sagittarius.
especially when it comes to your finances.
Do you have a question? Are you a certified financial planner?
Yes, I'm a CFP professional.
CFP professionals are committed to acting in your best interest. That's why it's gotta be a CFP. Find your CFP professional at letsmakeaplan.org.
And Jim, the next one is, I think this one just started, right? This
one just launched in September, early September.
Let's play that one.
Another hole? It's all gonna come together. I'm your man.
Asking the right question can greatly impact your future.
Are you really a licensed electrician?
Trust me. Not again.
Especially when it comes to your finances.
Do you have a question?
Are you a certified financial planner?
Yes, I'm a CFP professional.
CFP professionals are committed to acting in your best interest. That's why it's gotta be a CFP. Find your CFP professional at letsmakeaplan.org.
So I know you all, like Kate was saying, very much multi-channel, omni-channel approach as well, right?
Correct. We try to take advantage of our own channels, whether it's social media, our website, everything of the campaign drives. So letsmakeaplan.org. where there's content that is written by CFP professionals to help them make an educated decision when they're looking for a financial advisor. We've done some print. Wall Street Journal, you see there with our CEO, Kevin Keller. We'll be in the Wall Street Journal again, as well as the New York Times this time. We also when we reached our milestone of 100,000 CFP professionals, we were invited to the New York Stock Exchange. So you see our banner there. But any opportunity that we could put our tagline and get it out there in the public, we've been taking advantage of that. We've really utilized our CFP professionals. We have a toolkit that's available to them. They can share these assets. So it's more of a grassroots campaign on their part. But we also have 50 CFP board ambassadors. These are CFPs that we have selected that are very active in the media. They write for the media. There are SMEs when we get phone calls for SMEs from the media. So they're out there promoting the brand, extending that brand reach.
Because it's fresh, I want to ask you this question since we just showed the two spots.
Yep.
One of the things that I know the research showed this, the insights from the qualitative that we did, but I want to ask this too, because the creative is so strong in doing it. The tension point that is showed, the tension that is showed with in the opening first 15 seconds or so of worry and concern and, who is this person? They're not who I may think they are. But then on the opposite side of that, taking the negative emotions away and replacing it with positive. Can you speak to kind of that recipe, if you will, and how that works in the creative?
Yeah, so when we hired Bunton, we told them we wanted a breakthrough campaign that would be memorable, something very different than you could see in most financial services ads. And with our brand promise being confidence today, how do we portray that confidence and get consumers to make sure they're asking the question, are you a CFP professional? We truly believe our mark and the standards of our mark will provide that confidence and that security to consumers. So we took a high risk situation like you see in those ads. We've had another one. It was a bungee jumper. You saw the doctor one. We had several different ads and a couple more coming. But a high risk situation where people could relate to that situation. People hire electricians. You want to make sure that they're competent, that they're licensed. And so you have a high risk situation where someone feels very uncertain. And then all of a sudden, when they're in front of a CFP professional, they have this calm that comes over them and this confidence that they get by working with that CFP.
That's great. I'll switch to this, and I know you wanted to speak to the KPIs. Results.
So when the campaign first started in 2011, again, we're on our fourth iteration of the campaign. But right before that, the campaign started in 2011, just 17% of our target audience was able to recall the brand without being prompted. That's the unaided awareness. And what's really remarkable is that number has more than doubled today. We work with you, Mike, to do a post survey after our campaign runs, and for CFP Board's budget, we're dropping the bucket, compared to other financial services firms. But when we started the campaign back in 2011, the budget was probably around $7-8 million, and today we're at about $30 million. We're also, we have a fall campaign. In the past, it's always been a spring campaign when finances are top of mind, right after tax season during March, April, and May. And now we have a fall campaign in addition to that spring campaign, when people are preparing for school, doing end of the year budgeting, holiday budget, charitable giving, also a time when finances are top of mind. Total awareness has increased by more than 10%. But what's really remarkable is preference. We want people not only to know the brand, but actually to move down that marketing funnel and actually hire a CFP professional. So we want them to have a preference for a CFP professional as well as an intent to use. So you've seen those numbers with preference quadrupled, and even the intent to use a CFP professional has tripled since 2011.
Those are, you all are hitting and maintaining some, really high KPIs. Are you doing, what's the mix between earned and paid media You know, because you're over, you know, both of those. How are you leveraging those?
In terms of the paid media, you know, we use our agency Bunton. You know, we're on television, broadcast, you know, streaming, all the digital channels, etc. In terms of the mix, you know, that's a good question, Mike, how to answer that, because we don't measure them against each other. It's an integrated campaign,
Right.
where we're trying to leverage our PR efforts, as well as our you know, through our ambassadors, as well as our certificates, to continue to, you know, extend that reach of the brand.
Great. Just, I think that the expression is so strong.
Yeah.
We know as well that it's over 90% who say that they like the expression. It's got to be a CFP. Even the intonation of it is quite memorable. And Jim, that you all also are, well, you and Kate are competing against each other in October. Also a finalist for the Ogilvy Award. Well, then we'll go ahead and switch over to Dee and to Donna with the paper and packaging for the campaign, How Life Unfolds. Donna, thank you for joining us. Welcome.
Yeah, absolutely.
And thank you for keeping my writing going and keeping the things that are in my Amazon package safe. Thank you.
Right, right. No, thank you, and a pleasure to be here. We have a long history of working with Dee and you know, your team. I think going back also to 2016. Engaged in lots of different research along the way. And I think what I wanted to highlight here was the work we did in developing this particular campaign with you all, for understanding the values that our audience hold dear. And just by way of sort of a 1-second blurb about who we really are, the Paper and Packaging Board was formed in 2014, and it is it was founded by a group of U.S.-based manufacturers of paper and paper-based packaging that came together and wanted to have a unified voice and remind people about the value that paper and paper packaging brings to their everyday life. It was at a time where digital was really coming on strong. It was a really challenging paper usage at home, at school, and certainly at work. So we wanted to try and frame up really what value does paper and using paper bring to your life. And then on the packaging side, that was sort of where the opportunity for growth was happening because of the heavy increase in online, e-commerce shopping. So we came and started kind of putting our nose to the grindstone, if you will. We were launching essentially this campaign cold from scratch, and we had to do a lot of work. So we knew we needed a lot of research to really help shape our messaging, understand who our target audience is. We wanted to be able to, arm our agency partners with really strong research about our audience, about some of the challenges that our industry was facing in the market, where the opportunities were. Certainly testing our ad concepts prior to production, and a lot of, we also just did a lot of test and learn in the market for, digital and social assets that were not quite as, high production. And then we have an ongoing attitudes and usage survey tracker that's been in place since the beginning of the program, so that we can really understand awareness. Are people seeing our stuff? Are they recognizing it? And then are we seeing any changes in attitudinal and behavioral of our audience? So lots of research coming together. We did have an initial campaign that was in the market at launch in 2015, and it was well loved. The industry really embraced it. It unified all of our companies, even if they were making disparate products. Some were on the paper side, some were on the packaging side, some made paper bags, grocery bags, some made the shipping boxes. And the campaign that we launched with was really well received by the consumer audience. We would get letters from people that just loved it. Our industry was happy. However, it fell short of our expectations. We learned that people were not really understanding who was behind the advertising they were seeing, who was it coming from. We had people telling us things like maybe a long distance phone service, telecommunications company, an insurance company. And so that was sort of problematic, so we needed to figure out how to improve our brand communications. And our A&U tracking also showed us that our audience penetration and awareness was really pacing below forecast. So we knew we needed to step back and look at, significantly increasing our creative breakthrough. We also found that through the A&U that the creative was unfortunately triggering above benchmark feelings around wastefulness, because in our desire to show all the great stuff, all the great forms that paper and paper-based packaging play in your everyday life, we were kind of overwhelming people with our products, and we were triggering the idea around being wasteful, and maybe using too much, right? It was
so you weren't kind of focusing in on these 7 usage areas?
No, we hadn't. No, but so this is what happened. We understood that these. Well, we did. We understood that these were those areas that people used paper and used packaging for. But what we didn't know was how to sort of home in on these real purposeful, unique use scenarios. And again, in our desire to show everything, we were showing all of the ways that people use paper and all of the ways they use packaging. And we felt we really need to understand more about the values, right? And so that's what happened. We worked with Dee and the team and had a very rigorous values-based study that we undertook. And what it did was it really created these distinct benefit pathways for paper on the one side and packaging on the other side. When our initial idea was, let's come up with some unified message that can cut across everything, right? We make your life better, right? But we found that really wasn't cutting it. And so we had to get down to the nitty gritty around, what were those key use scenarios for paper and then for paper-based packaging. And ultimately, we did have to separate our communications for those 2 verticals. But yeah, I mean, this sort of shows what that benefit pathway is for each of them, right?
Yeah.
And so what came out of this was, on the paper side, we had to ladder up to that high level value of accomplishment and achievement. And on the packaging side, it was all about safety and, protecting what I've purchased, and sort of being a good parent to my kids, and then laddering up further to that idea of peace of mind, right? I can rest easy knowing that it's secure, that what I'm buying is secure in the paper-based packaging. But we worked with our ad agency coming out of this, and I think, Dee, we must have taken about 12 different campaigns into concepts into qualitative testing. So they really worked hard to come up with, lots of different ways to get at this, this sort of new communication. And one of the campaign ideas was featured these characters. And they hadn't been perfectly honed, but we knew we were onto something. And in qualitative, that concept around Casey and Paige really, above all, tested the highest. And so it reinforced, our brand memorability. It allowed us to hone in on these purposeful use scenarios, tap into those benefits and the high level values specific to paper, specific to packaging. And it allowed us to really push that creative breakthrough in our storytelling, which was, really needed.
Can I show can I show those?
Yes.
I think the characters, the executions with the characters are awesome.
Yeah.
Let's show the first one.
Every box has a mission: to protect everything inside from everything outside. That is where the true glory lies. Boxes make sure the things we rely on arrive safe and sound. Paper and packaging: how life unfolds.
Paper prepares us for success.
Please have a seat.
It inspires discussions.
Thank you very much for joining us today. If you'd all turn to page 1, we can get started.
Showcases the best ideas and motivates decisions.
We reported a net revenue of $100 million. Well, how does that sound?
We're in. Because every day, paper propels productivity. Paper and packaging: how life unfolds.
Can you speak to, these are prints here and stuff, but can you also, Donna, speak to these characters and their role?
Yeah,
Great.
the characters were, as you could see, we worked really hard to make them look like they sprung to life, like a box literally springs to life, and that ream of paper springs to
There's
life.
the box. Yeah.
Yep. And we had to be careful. We had to toe this line between having the characters really come through. And listen, the advertising world is full of these, a tradition of well-loved character mascots, right? And so we wanted to be able to tap into that, and allow them to take on a lot of the storytelling, even though they're not talking, like, the Geico Gecko. They don't talk, but visually they're telling you the story, and you could almost turn the audio off and still get the idea of what's going on. We're talking about paper. We're talking about packaging, right? Which is probably an odd thing for consumers to hear from, a commodity group, right? Not a brand per se, but, we're the industry. We are boxes, we are paper.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You're
so
speaking
that,
about your brand.
And
Right.
Donna, let me just insert here as well.
Yeah.
Whenever a lot of the executions, when we would do the testing, they would show that when you show a box, it's like people don't even notice the box because they're looking for what's in the box. And so how do you activate and animate the box itself to tell its story about its properties? And the same thing about paper. It's what's on the paper rather than the paper just disappears in the background. So this elevated the product front and center to become the hero, the storyteller of it, which was a major breakthrough conceptually in the execution.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we still wanted to make sure that people saw themselves in these scenarios as being, the hero, but we also wanted to elevate the paper and the packaging. Like we help you achieve your goals. We help you get what you need, and we help secure that peace of mind for you. So yeah, this ran over the course of about 3 years. And we really saw, incredible increase among our target audience, and those are who are aware of the campaign. From unaided awareness, we saw a 21% increase. Aided awareness, certainly with the TV and the video spots, we saw a 34% increase. We had some reputation measures for the industry that also we were able to realize, some really positive increases in looking at our industry as being trustworthy. That went up 6.5%. That the industry is innovative, 13.5%, which was unheard of, really, when you're talking about an industry that unfortunately often suffers from being sort of, old school, right? But anyway, so we were really happy about that. With paper, you know, we have lots of metrics, but these were some interesting ones that, you know, you can learn better from paper, you retain knowledge better from paper, you can be more productive with paper, that it, you know, and people acknowledging that it plays an important role in our life. And on the packaging side, we saw preference for paper over plastic packaging went up 12%. That idea of thinking more highly of the companies that package in paper went up 13%. And then that relying on delivering what I'm ordering online safely went up 2%. That actually was already a very high metric. I think it was in the 80%. So even just being able to show, you know, ongoing, continual, you know, growth in that metric was really positive.
Great results.
So
Great results.
yeah, we were really happy with the results.
Great results.
And these results really do kind of show how, you know, you had an emotionally compelling feel-good ad campaign that wasn't moving the needle, and then you kind of moved to this kind of a more values-based payoff with Casey and Paige, and had this bigger type of impact. But one of the impacts I don't think is even shown here is what it did in terms of growing the market. Could you talk a little bit, Donna, about kind of how that group of expressives that were so important to you, what happened to them?
Yeah. So I think I had mentioned early on, and this was prior to working with Heart+Mind, we did a segmentation study. We were looking at adults 18 to 49, and we wanted to hone in on that group that was going to bring the most value to our companies in terms of their preference and their consumption, and that would be, you know, most open to hearing our message. And that of that 18 to 49 group, there were 3 segments that came out of that. And the one that we, you know, really looked at as our core audience is the expressives. They became, you know, that group that we then targeted to. And, you know, we were armed with a typing tool. We could recruit them into research. We could target them through media. It was a wonderful thing. Interestingly enough, though, the expressives were not the largest of the 3 groups. In fact, they were about 28% of that 18 to 49. The other 2 groups being a little bit larger. And over the course of this campaign, we went back, I think it was the end of 2019, and we revisited our segmentation. We wanted to make sure it was still valid after 5 years, and it was. And in fact, we saw that we had grown the expressives audience up to growing from 28% of that 18 to 49 to 36%. So that was about 38 million people to 50 million, which was incredible. And so that just meant we were able to pull people away from the other 2 segments. Yeah.
And grow your core.
And grow our core.
So, so one thing I'd like to say before we go to Q&A is both Jim and Kate, you know, R&R with Las Vegas, and Bunton with CFP Board. These are other agencies also that we work with, and you know, this isn't doable, of course, without the agencies. And Donna or Dee, I can't remember the agency that you all worked with for yours. Who was the agency?
This was Kramer Krasselt.
Okay, that's right. Yeah. So just a shout out there to those agency partners. If we can, I'd like to bring everybody back, Jim and Kate, to come back on, and Dee and Darren. For our last 10 minutes for some Q&A among everybody. In the beginning, I shared a slide that talked about principles. And Kate, you, Jim, you, Donna, you all are absolute knock it out of the park professional marketers, communicators, in leading great brands. What are the most important principles that you are applying when it comes to the role that you have? You know, chief marketing officer, director of marketing, executive director, that's really getting the results. Kate, what are some important principles for you, you know, that we ought to listen to that you're applying?
I think the most important thing for any marketer is to make sure that you're listening to the voice of the customer. period, like full stop. You know, as an example, with this campaign that we did, we went around, and this is also one of the questions that I got on the forum, is we actually had to go around and socialize it with all of our stakeholders, all of our property partners up and down the strip, because this was a big deal. This is a huge departure from where we've been and how the entire industry actually communicates and sells meetings and conventions. And so it made them nervous. But what we could point to was the initial research from Heart+Mind, where we went and actually sat down and talked to C-suite decision makers of both, you know, clients that have held groups here in Las Vegas, as well as those that we were interested in going to get. And same thing on the meeting planner front. So we could point to the verbatims from our customers to say, this is why this campaign will work. And then, of course, going back and being able to point to it and saying, this is why they said the campaign worked, in addition to the business results that we saw. So I think the most important thing is listening to the voice of the consumer. In today's day and age, everybody has an opinion on everything. But just because they might be the loudest, they might not be the most representative of your customer. So really find a way to dig in there and listen to what they're saying.
And kudos to you. It sounds like that you were taking that information and socializing it with Vegas has a lot of stakeholders, you know, and creating consensus among them. Yeah. Jim, how about you?
I would have to agree with Kate on that, listening to the consumer. You know, Mike, we worked with you, before this campaign launched to, go to 4 different cities. We met with 3 different groups of individuals in each of those cities, people that worked with a CFP professional, people that were aware of financial planning and working with a CFP professional, and then people that, are do-it-yourselfers or don't work with a CFP professional or a financial advisor. And, it was tricky, when we decided to lean into humor, how much humor can we lean into? And we learned quickly from those focus groups that people take their finances seriously, and their money's a serious matter to them. So when we were first testing out different concepts, one of the concepts really leaned into humor more. There was actually a song and a jingle to it. And we learned that that just didn't resonate with the consumer. So where we landed with it's got to be a CFP, the use of the humor wasn't making fun of, say, the finances or even the CFP professional that they're going to be working with, or even a competitor. It was really about how do you make light of a situation after, especially during a time when we were just coming out of a pandemic. And then does that humor still hold true today? When we just did another round of, new commercials, we did the same thing with, Heart+Minds. We traveled the country, went to 4 different cities, met with, focus groups, 3 different ones in each of those cities. And the humor still resonated and made that connection. So listening to the consumer and making that emotional connection. And then highly, being ethical too, being honest with your brand. We want to make sure that consumers feel that confidence in working with a CFP professional. Our CFP, professionals, they commit to working in their clients' best interests, and our commercials say that. And it's something that a CFP professional commits to every year when they get recertified.
Great. Thank you, Jim. Thank you. Donna, how about you on the principal side?
Yeah, I mean, ditto everything I'm hearing. Totally agree with that. You got to listen to the consumer. You got to understand the consumer, certainly, or your audience, whoever that is. I would also just make a very sort of blanket statement about the value of research to help guide your decision making. For us, research is everything. You often hear that, people have a hunch about something and we're just going to try something out. But, when you're putting, $20 million into the market, to do your advertising communications, you want to make sure that it's based on, sound strategy. And so I would say, research as much as you can, because it's going to help guide develop that foundation for your strategy, who you're targeting, and then it's gonna be helpful to then package up the why that you can bring back to your stakeholders and say, we have to apply research in order to make sure that we're going down a valid path, and we can't just rely on hunches. I will just take one quick moment to say, after this campaign, COVID impacted everybody. Just prior to COVID, literally a month prior, and Dee was in that meeting with our board of directors, they asked us to shift our focus away from a benefits focused campaign to one that is 100% focused on sustainability, the sustainable nature of the products that our industry creates. And it was a very challenging thing to take on. And one of the things that we did was we said, look, we will go and we will use research to help validate, or we'll find out if it is a valid strategy. If we put out a pure sustainability message, is that going to drive preference? Is that going to drive consumption? And so we embarked on what, Dee, 7 or 8 month research effort. And what came out of it was, sure enough, we found a way in where we could, formulate our messaging and our strategy that was going to resonate with people to promote, the sustainable nature and have an impact on, people's preference. Yeah. So just
thank you all.
Yeah.
Great answers. Appreciate that. But and research has to lead to action, right? Data is just data. You got to have a story behind it. And all of you are saying, and you've got to go to strategy, and you've got to go to activation. Darren, is there anything that you wanted to throw out? We got 2 more minutes left, and I've got an important message at the end that I want to be sure that I deliver before our attendees leave.
Sure. Yeah, Kay, I've always wanted to ask you this question, but we had some really interesting insights about how to pivot the conversation from, a lot of what we saw in the market was rational and making that more emotional connection with execs and meeting planners. But I feel like you and R&R kind of punched it to a certain boldness that was kind of unexpected for me, which is having phrasing like not invited, like avoiding mediocrity. Can you talk a little bit more about the decision to go in that direction and the boldness that you decided to go with?
I think once we decided and heard from our customers and in research that we could own our brand and be true to our brand and not have to hide behind who Las Vegas really is, we fully embraced it. And we are a bold, confident brand. And so we went completely provocative, turned the entire industry, sort of flipped it. And it won. Big risk is big reward.
Great.
Well, I've got a bold message for everybody before we leave. 3 of them. Number 1, everybody get to Vegas, either for a leisure trip or have a business meeting there. Number 2, if you're not working with a certified financial planner for a financial plan, get one. Go to letsmakeaplan.org. Number 3 is, if you're not writing on some paper or using paper, or keeping in mind how boxes keep things safe for you, keep that in mind as well. I just want to thank all of you for joining us. Thank you for being clients with us. Know how much gratitude that we have for all of you. Thank you for the participants who joined us, and y'all have a great rest of the day. Thank you.